Andrew, on today's show, we are interviewing right here in the Man Cave Studios the chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party. His name is David McLain, and he's kind of a big deal, Andrew.
Yeah, he's a really big deal.
And on today's show, he joins us to share about how Christ-loving Christians can get involved to protect our American freedoms and conservative values. And we have a little bit of fun along the way as well, but I'm telling you, this guy is serious about protecting your First Amendment rights to peaceably gather, your Second Amendment rights to the rights to bear arms. He's all about ending mask mandates, ending the shuttering of schools, and opening up our great state of Oklahoma. His name is David McLain. He joins us here on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom, now we hit.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you.
Yes, and yes, Thrive Nation. We are in the air everywhere, and on today's show, we are interviewing a man who is an Oklahoma business person. He's a pastor, and he also happens to be the head of the Oklahoma Republican Party. David McLain, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you, sir?
I'm honored to have you here in the Man Cave. I'm excited to have you here in the studio, and I want to ask you, what caused you to want to become the chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party?
What caused me to want to become the chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party, the cause has never been asked to me before. The effect has been asked, but the cause has never been asked. So the cause of me wanting to become the chairman of the Oklahoma Republican Party is I have a servant's heart. I wanted to serve the good conservative people of the state of Oklahoma. And I really felt that it was a call in my life to do this. So I went ahead and pressed on and pressed in and worked very hard to win this seat as we traveled the state campaigning. And so we hit all those metrics, did all those things right, came in, restructured the party, refunded the party, have re-elevated the party. So we are very excited about the Republican Party in the state of Oklahoma right now.
Well, I have 5 specific questions that I want to ask you, and then I want you to be able to drill down into some specific issues that you want to discuss. And I represent the common man, and probably the less intelligent common man, the man who says, you know what, I'm at a third grade level, so I'm gonna ask some maybe shallow how questions here for people that are not political junkies or even politically very knowledgeable. People that just are going, hey, I want to run my own business. I want to take my kids to school. I want the schools to be open. I want church to be open. I want to, they love American freedom. So my first question is this: if I'm listening right now, and I'm a dad or a mom listening, and I'm saying I'm not happy with the direction that the school boards are taking Oklahoma. I'm not happy with shuttering schools. I'm not happy with mask mandates. I'm not happy with liberal leadership. And somebody wants to actually serve in the capacity of donating. What's the best place to do that? Where should they send their money to?
Sure. So you'd want to go to www.okgop.com, and you'd want to hit the donate button there and give on WinRed. Also, if you would like to volunteer at the state party, just go there, hit the volunteer side of it, put your name, your email address in there, get signed up to volunteer. There's a number of places and positions for people to volunteer across the state. We're running one of the largest Victory 2020 campaigns in the history of the state of Oklahoma right now, so there's a lot of availability for volunteers to put boots on the ground, make phone calls, and a number of other things.
If somebody donates, what is the money used for?
Right, that's a great question. So the money is used to get Republicans elected is what the money is used for. So sometimes we'll push money down ballot. Sometimes we will do multiple different things with that money, such as ensure that we have free and fair elections across the state of Oklahoma. That money goes to fight court battles with which we're in right now. That money goes to a number of other metrics, just depending on what the need is, because in politics, the need is fluid. You know, one day everything is fine in politics. The next day everything's up in upheaval. So we have to be fluid, we have to be flexible, and we have to be ready to fundraise at a moment's notice, put boots on the ground at a moment's notice for certain individual tasks and events that are taking place. So these things are, it's imperative for people to want to get plugged into the party, to be able to actually do something that matters within the party, but really what matters within their community. You were just talking about the local school boards.
Yeah.
A local school board is probably the most important election in the United States right now. The local school board is the smallest core of people that handle the largest budgets. Let's take Tulsa County for a perfect example. A very small group of people there.
Yep.
All of them, with the exception of two high-handed, progressive, I call them Fourth Reich socialists, who handle a budget over $700 million. Where is the power at? Well, the power is right there in that $700 million in the budget that they run.
So you're saying in a Republican state, largely conservative state, just a handful of people are controlling a budget of how much?
$700+ million.
700+ million. And how many people are on this school board? Approximately.
I want to say there's seven.
So 7 people are controlling $700 million. That's $100 million per person is being controlled by these people. What if I'm listening right now and I'm saying, you know what, I feel called to run for something?
Hey,
Where does somebody go if they say, look, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I want to run? Do you help identify spots where you need Republican candidates, or what can somebody do if they want to get involved as a candidate?
Yes, we're constantly recruiting candidates across the state of Oklahoma. You know, I was the Tulsa County chairman before I took this office, and I started sounding the alarm back in 2017 about our local school boards. 6 years ago, Bernie Sanders, Eric Holder, and former President Barack Obama moved into Oklahoma City, set up an office, and began very diligently working on our city councils and our local school boards.
And when was this?
This is about 6 years ago.
6 years ago. These guys.
Very quietly.
Oh, we don't like this. Okay, continue.
Exactly. Now, why would they do that? Well, because they know the inception of statehood in 1907 for the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma, by design, was designed to be a socialist state. Did you hear what I said? 2 attorneys wrote the largest, most progressive state constitution in the history of the known world at the time. Therefore, we now have Fourth Reich progressive socialists that moved back into our community several years ago who understand structure. They understand where the power is at. Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and Bernie Sanders understand where the real power is at, and that is at the local level. We can see that with mayors shutting down businesses. They can make a decision on who's in business and who's not in business anymore nowadays, which is probably one of the most unconstitutional stands we'll see a mayor or a city council make. Thus, us recalling Norman, thus organizing Unite Norman to recall a city council in Norman. Now, just think about this. In 2 years, under progressive socialist Fourth Reich, Kendra Horn's rule in the 5th Congressional District as the congresswoman there, Norman has gone completely Fourth Reich socialist on us, and we've had to do a complete recall in the city council. The first one that we know of in many, many years in the United States. In fact, we've had other states calling us saying, how in the world did you guys recall a city council? We went in on this because we have city councils all over this country
and real quick,
that are running amok.
This city council that you're referring to, because we have listeners all over the world, is the city council that's trying to defund the police, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
These are radical, crazy, psycho people.
Oh, they're radical.
So I have to ask you this. If I'm listening and I'm a soccer mom, I'm a soccer dad, and I'm going, I've got some downtime. I've got a little bit of money. Because you need some time freedom a little bit to be able to pour all your time into politics. You know what I mean? People that have the time and the money. If somebody has the time and the money, what does that process look like? Do they meet with you and you say, hey, we need someone to run for this position and that position? How does that work?
Yeah, so what we do is we have field reps that are out recruiting for us, and when we have someone who is interested, let's say somebody goes to our website, www.okgop.com, and they say, I want to volunteer or I want to run for office there, we set up a meeting with them, a personalized meeting with them at HQ in Oklahoma City. We sit down with them. We go over the party's platform with them. We go over a number of other metrics with them. We figure out where the best fit is for them, whether it's at the local school board, the state house, statewide, or at the federal level. And then we help them to get in position and get an order so that they can make the run that's necessary to make, or do the volunteering that they want to do.
Got it. So you can help people there. And again, the best way to get a hold of you is what?
www.okgop.com.
www.okgop.com. Now, I know you have a handful of, and there's a lot of things you want to talk about that matter. And what I want to do is I want to give you the platform, the space, and the grace to educate us up in this place about what matters, okay? So walk us through what are maybe 3 or 4 core key things that every Oklahoman should know right now that you're saying, hey, we have to wake up. What do we need to know about?
Right. So since inception at 1907, from inception to statehood, we are a Democrat state from the city, county, state, statewide, and federal level until 2004, when we broke through, thanks to Barack Obama, when we won the State House in 2004. Fast forward 2010, swept the entire state statewide, and we did all of that without gerrymandering or redistricting anything. We worked within the gerrymandering redistricting that the Republicans and Democrats bipartisanly put together for us, but that doesn't work for the Democrats. So what the Democrats have done is the Democrats have purpose to redistrict the state of Oklahoma back to blue because they cannot win races here. You see, it took us 100 years to win enough races to turn this state red, and in 10 years of rule, they won it back, but they want to do it by redistricting the state of Oklahoma. I've been writing several op-eds on this. You know, one of the op-eds I wrote back at 11/25 of 19, this has been going on since last year, this redistricting fight that we've been in, and it's been an all-out slug-out. Trust me on this one. I wrote this to them. Democrat leaders that include former President Barack Obama and former Attorney General Eric Holder are spearheading a national effort to change the way the congressional and state legislative districts are drawn. Their motives are partisan and ideological. First, these reformers seek to reverse the Republican advantage in state politics brought on by widespread disaffection with the Democrat Party's lurch to the left. Republicans today have unified control over legislative bodies in 29 of the 50 states, and including Oklahoma, compared to just 19 for Democrats. Leftist leaders know that simply redrawing these districts may produce faster gains for Democrat Party than doing the hard work of winning elections. That's why the National Democrat Redistricting Committee, the NDRC, chaired by Eric Holder, is working to redraw these lines exclusively in red states and areas where Republicans have experienced electoral success. The NDRC is ideological in nature and understands the stakes are high. Its website cites global warming, gun control, abortion rights as policy priorities, and implores like-minded leftists to join their cause. In Oklahoma, they have found a taker. Listen to this. It's called People Not Politics. I love how Democrats put these cute little slogans on stuff and just make it sound like mom and pop and mom and dad thought this up. People, not politicians, are politics. So here's what it went on to say. That is backed by out-of-state liberal interest groups in state Democrat political operatives as well. They filed Initiative Petition 420, a precursor to State Question 804, which could appear on the ballot in Oklahoma if the group can overcome legal challenges and acquire the necessary number of signatures. Now, we've already defeated that part.
Got it.
But then they pivoted. State Question 804 will remove control over the redistricting process from our elected officials and place it in the hands of unelected activist judges who would then assemble their own independent election commission. These new commissioners, unlike the bipartisan legislative committees today, control the redistricting. They would be held accountable to nobody. So basically what they want to do is they want to take 3 retired Supreme Court justices. Now, we know up until Governor Kevin Stitt, who just appointed the 2 constitutional Supreme Court justices, that our Supreme Court justices in the state of Oklahoma have not been right-leaning at all.
Amen.
And what we've learned about this state Supreme Court mostly is they are not afraid to legislate from the bench, are they? They're not afraid to take our constitutional rights away from us, or the constitutional rights that we surrendered to a House and a state Senate to help govern us. They're not afraid to strip us of those rights, put it in the small hands of some of their own people, some of their own retired state Supreme Court justices, put a small group of maybe 8 or 9 people together, regular, normal citizens, together to gerrymander maps to turn our state back blue. Now think about that for just a moment. And then not give us any redress in the matter. So we've given constitutional authority to our House and our Senate to bipartisanly redistrict us when redistricting has come, bipartisanly. What this group, People Not Politics, Andy Moore, who actually works for the Freedom of Information. Now think about this for a second. Andy Moore, who is the executive director for Freedom of Information, is leading these nonsensical state questions, trying to usurp the constitutional authority of the good people and the government of the state of Oklahoma.
How do we stop it?
Well, we've been in court over this for quite some time.
And I know you're fighting the fight. And I'm
Yes.
saying there's somebody listening right now who's going, what can I do? Do they
Yeah.
need to stroke you a check?
There
do
you
they
go.
need to wait, what do they need to do?
So here's what they need to do.
Yeah.
They need to go to www.okgop.com. They need to click donate and get on WinRed and give some money.
So let's just say that somebody sets up, if all the listeners just donated $20 a month. Okay, so it's $240 a year. I mean, that kind of thing can really make a difference. And I'm seeing more and more people reaching out to me going, Clay, I listened to your show and I think I have to get involved somehow. I'm just hearing that. It's almost like they're bringing the fight to your front door.
They are.
And so people in Oklahoma have been saying, well, in Oklahoma, we would never do mask mandates. We would never do mask mandates. Can I ask you, sir, and if you don't want to comment, it's okay. Then I'll delete it or I'll boo myself or something. What's going on with GT Bynum? What's going on with Mayor GT? Because I think a lot of people thought, they were getting a conservative. And he's in the New York Times with an op-ed. He's quoting Barack Obama in the Tulsa World. He is talking about. He just did a press release talking about teaming up with the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers made that plan in 2010 that called for 2020 to be like this. I mean, I don't know if people know this. This was an actual plan. This whole thing. What's going on with GT? Is he on the team? Is he not on the team? What's going on with this guy?
So that's a great question. I just listened to his last interview he did on Pat Campbell, and I was glad that he did that interview because the one thing that Pat Campbell did, one good question that Pat Campbell did ask GT Bynum is, what in this term are you going to do differently that you have ignored in your last term?
Yeah.
And so, in essence, what GT Bynum said, I'd recommend you go back and actually listen to what he said, but I'll kind of summarize it as my little brain filtered it. And what I heard out of that conversation was this. GT said that he really felt that when Dewey Bartlett left office, that he was the Republican Party's favorite, and that he felt that he really had no support of the Republican Party as he was the setting mayor of Tulsa. He said he come to regret that because what he realized now is that you cannot make happy Fourth Reich socialists, because what they will do is go raise $270,000 on you in 60 days, galvanize 31% of your vote from you, and if they had 30 more days, we could have potentially had a mayor that was
super leftist.
Yeah. And so I was happy to hear GT Bynum say it shook him and that he will be reaching out to the local Republican Party as well as a state party to begin to figure out exactly what governing right looks like.
Is he going to repeal these mask mandates?
I don't know what GT Bynum's going to do and not do.
Can you put him in a headlock and make him do it? I mean,
look, listen. I would love for GT Bynum to stand up and do what is right for the people, and mostly for the businesses.
Yeah, it's sad what's happening to a lot of businesses.
Yeah,
the
injury.
Put out of business.
Look. Here's the thing. One thing we've learned through this COVID-19 experience is we've learned that tyranny doesn't start at the federal level.
True.
And it doesn't start at the state level.
True.
They put out these constitutional guidelines, and it's these really good people. I'm so tired of electing just good guys and good gals to city councils, making them mayors,
great
making them
people.
city
Good
managers.
people.
You know, really good people are the ones who have shut our businesses down, have taken an unconstitutional stance towards the citizens.
Because the Constitution's not their rock.
What?
It's
But-
like it's just a good idea,
Yeah.
and whenever the things get difficult, they become socialists.
Well, whenever governing is always difficult. It's as I've explained to the county lower magistrates. The top side of their sword is infrastructure, public safety. That's the top side. Budgets.
Yep.
Making sure that we're hitting all of our meetings properly. But the bottom side of their sword, which is very rarely ever seen, is when a city council, a mayor, begins to take an unconstitutional stance towards the individual, because the Constitution was written for the individual. It was not written for groups of people or colors or religions. It was written for you and me, the smallest minority. When they begin to take an unconstitutional stance, the last stop to that unconstitutional stance is the lower magistrate in the county, your county court clerk, your county assessor.
When you
your
say
county
magistrate,
sheriff.
what do you mean by that word for people out there that don't know?
Well, highest elected official in the land would be the magistrate.
Okay, the magistrate. Okay, now if you're, we have got about 4 minutes left, and we've got some time here for some rapid fire questions. James, you're an attorney. You moved here from Manhattan.
That's right.
To team up with me to help me get this podcast out in the air everywhere to help fight against mask mandates and other things. You're an attorney. Manhattan's completely shut down. I mean, completely a disaster. Last time you were in Manhattan, you were telling me it's a complete disaster. What question would you have here for the chairman of Oklahoma's Republican Party about all things politics in the great state of Oklahoma?
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm James DeCristofaro. And yeah, Clay and I and a bunch of others filed a lawsuit against Bynum,
King
Dart,
GT.
and,
Mayor
and,
GT.
and the city of Tulsa and the Department of Health to repeal the mask mandate. And we're going to be making some other moves pretty soon. We've also been talking to some professional athletes who have gone through the testing process for COVID-19. You know, some positive, some negative, some false positive, some it's just all over the place. And I think Clay mentioned earlier on the podcast that we have this, the 600,000 military were tested, and those were also, whoops, sorry about that. We originally said that you're positive, but you're negative. And in the context of speaking to the professional athletes, one of them wasn't allowed to participate, and so he didn't get paid or didn't have the opportunity to win. And it's just it's depriving the fans, it's depriving everybody of the livelihood and the entertainment of the sports and the athletes to play the game. And so I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the Robert Kennedy sued the Department of Health and Human Services and won in 2018 a case related to vaccines. And so I looked into the potential to sue the testing companies because there's no accountability for having a right test or a wrong test or a false positive, because in the business world and in the world as we know it, if you're wrong, you're not rewarded for it, and there are consequences for being wrong. So the Department of Health and Human Services granted immunity to the testing facilities. And to me, that sort of throws all accountability, out the window. And I don't think the tests are reliable, and I just think it's a bunch of nonsense. And it's just further feeding the fuel of the left and then the disaster that they want to get us in. So my question is, what do you think about this immunity that is granted to the testing facilities in particular? It's a very, very acute issue.
Right. So truly the only way that a lawsuit like that would probably stand up in the court is if you could prove injury. Correct? So immunity, you can't prove it. You can't prove anything. You're immune to it. So I think it's a great cover, because the last thing I think that a corporation wants to have to go to court over is if someone can prove injury. You see, the hardest part about a mask mandate is, and suing for that is going to be proving that someone was injured.
Well, for the constitutional standard is that it's either injury or likely injury, and the way that we framed the issue for the mask lawsuit was that when you're deprived oxygen for a sustained period of time, you'll be injured physiologically, and that's proven
Meehan
science.
had a few people falling off ladders.
Yeah, one of his receptionists, her husband was required by the employer to wear a ladder 25 feet high. He got dizzy, lightheaded, and fell and hurt himself. So that's injury.
Yeah.
And then the injury with respect to bear with me for a second, right? So the injury with respect to the testing facilities, I think it can be pretty sort of broadly construed in the context of, okay, so an athlete tests positive, can't play, the league shuts down the stadium, and so the fans can't have that sort of level of enjoyment that they've had in the past, and so that could be construed as an injury. But for instance, another injury is if you can't engage in the sport and you're paid if you win, and you don't have the opportunity to win, then that's also an injury as well. It's an economic injury. So I think that we can make the case for an injury. But you're right, that is definitely a component of a lawsuit like that.
So what's the definition of injury in this type of lawsuit that would be used?
Well, the argument that I would say is economic injury, health injury, psychological injury, change in lifestyle injury. Those are also taken into consideration, for instance, when figuring out what sort of alimony payments are made. We're accustomed to this certain lifestyle, so that the payments are sort of coordinated to that lifestyle. So I mean, we can make a whole bunch of different arguments, and depending on the judge and the forum, could hold some weight and move the case forward.
So are you if you don't mind me asking, are you doing
Not
this
at all.
at the federal level, a federal court, or are you doing this at?
Yeah, we filed the lawsuit in the Northern District of Oklahoma, so that's the federal court, and we've cited a bunch of different constitutional violations.
Is this a good thing, sir?
Yeah, I just think anytime you go to the federal court, that's where I think it's a good place probably the best place to start.
And
Now-
just one more thing,
sure.
and we've got some momentum. After filing this lawsuit, I got calls from people in Tennessee, in Florida. We got contacted by
San Diego?
Washington State, California, San Diego, and we've got some momentum going. And so Clay and I put together this sort of template that all people have to do is contact us, and we'll give them the template. Because I can only practice in New York, I'm not yet admitted in Oklahoma, so I can't practice and advise law in other states without getting local counsel and this whole sort of process. So what we've done is we've put together this, it's not legal advice, it's a template that people can use and file pro se in whatever state that they are in if they are sick as we are of these mask mandates. And Clay, what's the email address? Is it info@thrive?
Info@thrivetimeshow.com. Info@thrivetimeshow.com. Now, I've got a final question here for you, sir, because I really respect your time, and I also want to make sure I interview Dr. Richard Bartlett today. I know, David, you have poured your heart into this. You continue to pour your heart into this. But again, I have to take a step away, and I have to assume that somebody who's listening to this show on a fundamental level doesn't understand certain things yet, not because they're an ignorant person, but because they've just turned a blind eye to politics because it makes them nauseated. Okay?
Yeah.
So what is the fundamental difference, as succinctly as possible, if you can, between a Republican and a Democrat? Just their ideologies. What is? Because somebody out there is going, hey, I know a lot of people I've talked to have told me I really just stay out of politics. But what is the fundamental difference in the ideologies of a Democrat and a Republican?
Sure. The fundamental difference between the ideology of a Republican and a Democrat is if Joe Biden is elected as president of the United States, he's first going to raise your taxes $4 trillion. He's going to come after your Second Amendment. They believe in partial birth abortion up to delivery, whereas obviously as conservatives we have decreased, the president has decreased our taxes. He has put people to work. We have the pre-COVID, we had a very low unemployment rate across the United States. In fact, our unemployment rate is about 8% today, which is very good. We are pro-life. We are pro-Second Amendment. We are liberty lovers. We don't want local governments taking our civil liberties and our freedoms and stomping all over them because we have ignorant, uneducated people in office. What local governments are beginning to learn is it's a lot more hard to govern than it is to talk about governing. But you wanted some specific differences. So the Second Amendment, abortion, taxes,
Right to bear arms,
right,
abortion.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
Very clear.
Very clear. One
Very
party's
clear.
in favor of limited government. That's the Republicans. Freedom.
That's right.
Democrats, more control, more government.
That's right. So let's just talk about that for just a second.
sure.
Andy Moore, who is heading People Not Politics, they want to add 2 seats to our government, one in the House and one in the Senate. This redistricting board. Could you imagine if the pro tem of the Senate, Greg Treat, or Speaker Charles McCall, said, we want to add 2 more seats to the caucuses? That we would be lambasted. We would be told that we're big government nutcases is what we would be told, but not the far left, Fourth Reich socialist Democrat. No, they're lauded for it. The Tulsa world applauds them. The Oklahoman applauds them. I'm telling you guys, this is very serious business when it comes to this redistricting, the universal mail-in balloting that they're trying to do to us. We have absentee balloting here in the state of Oklahoma. They're trying to strip out the driver's license, the notary republic. Listen, if you don't prove who you are, anybody can vote for you. That is not what we are about here in the state of Oklahoma. And they're citing 7 other states that use universal mail-in balloting. Yeah, well, they've been doing it for over 10 to 25 years. You don't try to change a state to universal mail-in balloting 90 days before an election. You have a nightmare like what they're placing in New Jersey, New York. Let me tell you something. This redistricting happened in Pennsylvania. They lost 2 congressional seats. Republican seats went away. Think about that. North Carolina, the same thing.
Yep.
This redistricting. They are purposing to take our state unlawfully through a judge who will legislate from the bench.
On a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is an emergency and 1 is it doesn't matter, this is like a 14,
This is a
15.
14 and a
This
half.
is huge. This is epic. This is on the Richter scale. This is off
Yeah.
the scales here. This is off the charts.
Yeah.
This is bad stuff, and I encourage everybody right now, if you're listening in Oklahoma and you're a conservative, I want you to do one thing for me, okay? Get out your wallet. You got to open that thing up. And I want you to donate. Let's just do, can we do $20 a month? Maybe someone can do more, some can do less. Let's go to, what's the website one more time?
www.okgop.com.
Okay, so again, that's
.okgop.com.
Go there, donate today, and I'm telling you, folks, if you say, I can't afford it, stop eating regrettable burritos. We're all trying to lose a little weight. Just don't eat a regrettable burrito. Just you know, when you go to Quick Trip and they say, do you want something extra? Do you need anything else? You go, no, I'm donating to the GOP. 1 day a month, I starve myself for 1 meal. I mean, just find a way to come up with the extra $20 a month. This is absolutely going to make a difference. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all the listeners, David, for being on the show and for fighting the fight day in, day out. It's been an honor to interview you. And again, just thank you for all that you're doing.
Sir, thank you very much for having me here. Be blessed.
Take care. Andrew and James, it's now time to end this show with a boom, because boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And that's what it's going to take to make sure that this state stays great. We got to bring that boom, that big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. James, are you psychologically prepared to bring the boom?
Oh, 100%, Clay.
Andrew, are you prepared to bring the boom?
I'm physically prepared.
Now, what I want to do, I have a vision for this boom.
Oh, okay.
I want to end with a boom, and then I want you to play the didgeridoo as we fade out. Okay, so I'm going to say 3,
All
2,
right, here we go.
1, boom. I hit boom, and you play the didgeridoo. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. What if you could gain access to download each and every book that I've ever written for free? Well, that'd be terrible, because I don't like you. Okay, we're making a big assumption here. But assuming that you do like me and you like the Thrive Time Show, you can now go to thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources. That's thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources to download each and every book that I've ever written for free. You can download the ebook version of each and every book that I've ever written for free.
Clay, I just want to chime in here real quick. I don't like you or capitalism. I feel like we should all get free stuff.
Well, I am in the process of explaining where you can get free stuff. And you can now also download all the helpful infographics. There's infographics on Firing 101, the perfect hiring system, the principles from Ray Dalio, Internet Marketing 101, the Lead Bin Management System, Managing Humans 101, Logo Creation 101, Why Google Loves WordPress, Time Management 101. We also have an incredible infographic about the importance of calling your leads often, because the average person no longer answers their phone unless they are called multiple times and unless they receive a text from you. We also have the importance of file nomenclature 101, Sales Lead Conversion 101, and much, much more. And it's all available for you to download for free right now by going to thrivetimeshow.com.
Are you suggesting that I should have to move my body?
Yes.
This is for free. Isn't there a way you could just beam it? I mean, why do I have to move my body?
Because
typing causes me anxiety.
Whatever.
Which is why I would never go to thrivetimeshow.com.
Come on.
/free-resources. I would never go to thrivetimeshow.com /free-resources.
All right, let me clarify. If you have the capacity to move your fingers, go to thrivetimeshow.com /free-resources to download an ebook version of every single Amazon best-selling book I've ever written and all the infographics that have the power to change your life.